Good afternoon. My name is Joy Strickland, and I'm the founder and CEO of Mothers Against Teen Violence. I want to begin by thanking my board of directors, and I want to thank every table host, every sponsor in this room, and I'm going to call your names because I think when people show up for an event like this, we want to know who's in the room. But my board of directors, their names, beginning with Dr. Delaney, you heard from him earlier, Padma Min, Danny Anderson, Brian Adnoff, who is our newest board member, you heard from him also, Dr. Robert B., Cicely Frizzell, Reggie Harvey, Wes Miller, Ranjani Min, Kristen Strickland, and another new board member, Royce West II. Can we give our board of directors a hand? These people are awesome. Now, I also want to thank our event sponsors, beginning with the Drug Policy Alliance. You know, I have been doing this work now for 20 years, and we have a relationship with the Drug Policy Alliance that we have never had with any other funding organization. They are unique in what they do and how they do it. I don't know where we would be as an organization without you guys. And they are in the house from New York today, Jill Harris, and Aja Vandelli, and I think Geronimo. I've not met you, Geronimo. So they're in the house. Can we give them a hand? The Open Society Foundations is by far one of our largest funders, to the tune this year and last year of $75,000. Now they're not in the house, but we want to thank them for that money. The Embry Family Foundation was the first organization to fund our Mothers Against Teen Violence when we rebranded the organization. You know, it was pretty easy to get money when we were talking about safe issues and a safe way to do that work. But when we started talking about a very difficult issue, people ran for cover, I have to tell you. But the Embry Family Foundation stepped up, and we thank you and we appreciate you. The Baylor Healthcare, and they've changed their name to Baylor, did I hear the name? Yes, Baylor Scott and White. Yes, so, yes, Baylor Scott and White Healthcare. And Jennifer Coleman, who's the vice president with Baylor Healthcare, has funded this breakfast, this luncheon, every year since its inception, and we thank you, and we appreciate you. And Ellen and Will Pryor, who are new friends. In fact, that's our first, I'm a member of First Presbyterian Church in Dallas. The Frozen Chosen, you may know, those Presbyterians. and Ellen and Will Pryor are new friends, and I'm looking forward to getting to know them, and the reverse, of course, is true. I appreciate their sponsorship, and the Dallas Weekly as a media sponsor. Now, for our table sponsors, and I'm going to take them in alphabetical order. Many of our board members, of course, are among those, so I won't repeat those names. But Dr. Joe Clifford, who is the senior pastor at First Presbyterian Church, this is the first year that they have sponsored a table. And, of course, he's in Israel. He could not be here. But his wife, Jennifer Clifford, if you would just wave, she's here, and she's brought some of her colleagues. She works for the Communities Foundation of Texas, and she's brought some of those good people with us, and we are delighted to have you, and delighted to have you hear our message, and perhaps consider, coming alongside us and supporting our work. And of course, I also see some of my members from my pastor's Bible study, which I'm a part of. They're here, and other members, Ernie and Bonnie. So, welcome, guys. It's good to see you. The Honorable Dr. Elba Garcia is here in the house. Where are you? She stepped out. But this is a woman who gets this, she gets this message, and she gets this issue. and she's brought half of Dallas County with her, and I appreciate that, and I want to thank her for the honor at Commissioner's Court earlier this week, the resolution that was placed in our name, and I want to thank her for the kind words that she had to say about our organization and about our work. And then Wilkins Jones, who is probably one of my oldest friends in the room from Lincoln High School. Where are you? I can't see. Oh, there you go. Okay, Wilkins. And he hounds my fellow classmates until they come and join and show up every year. So I appreciate you for that, Rick. Very dear friend. New table sponsor this year, Mr. Rob Campia with the Marijuana Policy Project. People are standing up and taking notice because the Marijuana Policy Project is they now have their sights set on Texas. And we're happy to work with Rob Campia and his organization. And my sister, Ms. Catherine Page, who, of course, my family, you may not know, but I'm the 11th of 13 children. We had remarkable parents who are no longer with us, and my family has supported me in this work from the beginning, and I really appreciate their work. They come from near as Oak Cliff and as far as, Radnor, Pennsylvania, to be with me at this event today. And it looks like I missed the good doctors, James, and I'm doing this alphabetically, James and Carol Gray. They not only come every year, but they fill the Baylor table too. So I appreciate it. Thank you for that. And there are other elected officials. I believe I saw the Honorable, of course, Barbara Mallory Caraway is here, but the Dallas County Sheriff is in the house. Lupe Valdez. Another woman who's very, very, very impressive. So, as the story goes, there was a priest, a Boy Scout, and a Nobel Prize winner in physics on an airplane. And unfortunately, this was on a small twin-engine plane, and the flight became a little bumpier than usual, and then there were strange noises from the engine, and in short order, the pilot emerged from the cockpit, and he announced, he said to the passengers, "Good people, I regret to inform you that we are having mechanical difficulties. As a matter of fact, this plane is going down." Now, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is we have parachutes. The bad news is we have only 3. And I'm going to take the first one, and I'm going to leave you to sort out the problem with the other 2. And with that, he grabbed the parachute and jumped off the plane. And then the Nobel laureate stood up and he said, "I am the smartest man in the world. If I were to go down with this plane, not only would it be a personal tragedy for me, it would be a tragedy for the entire world. So I'm going to take the second parachute, and I will see you later." He jumped off the plane. And with that, the priest turned to the Boy Scout and he said, "My son, I'm an old man. I've lived my life. You have your whole life ahead of you. Why don't you take the 3rd parachute?" To which the Boy Scout replied, "Father, not to worry. The smartest man in the world just jumped off this plane with my backpack. So we're in good shape." So, and don't tell me, Cassandra, I can't tell a joke. So, last year, for the first time, we invited you to become members of Mothers Against Teen Violence. And we asked you to join this organization. And so this year, and I want to be crystal clear, we're asking you to join again, but when you join this organization, we want to be crystal clear about the fact that you're not only joining an organization, you're joining a movement. And as with any movement, messaging is critically important. It must be clear, it must be straightforward, it must be actionable. And so I have to confess to you that I've made a mistake. As an activist, I've been, I've fallen short with this clear messaging thing. As a matter of fact, I have said that whenever I speak, I think about this era. Whenever I speak about this issue, I am prone to say over and over and over again that this is a complex issue. This is a complex issue. This is a complex issue. So today I want to confess, I want to clear the air, and I want you to understand that this is not a complex issue. I was incorrect about that. After all, you are all, busy people. Complexity is intimidating. And busy people, when are they supposed to have time to wrap their brain around a complex issue to the extent that they're able to share it, feel comfortable sharing it with their families and friends, not to mention joining a movement. So this is not a complex issue, and I want to set that record straight. Drug policy reform is, in fact, quite simple. And you don't have to be the smartest man in the world to understand it. You don't have to be the smartest woman in the world to work for reform. Now, there are many reasons for the illusion of complexity, but chief among them, I think, is a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misinformation, and a lot of misstatements of the problem. So what I'm going to do, just briefly, is I'm going to give you 3 simple messages. Okay, I'm going to give you the backstory first, and I'm going to give you the simple message. And I'm hoping to encourage you to embrace this messaging, to carry it forward, and to be a part of this movement. Now, the first message has to do with mass incarceration. So here's the backstory. The arrest rate of white men in America is comparable to the arrest rate of black men in South Africa under apartheid. And the arrest rate of black men in America is 7 times that, okay? So in 2011, 110,000 people in Texas were arrested for drug possession, and 64,000 of those people were arrested for simple possession of marijuana. Now, let's be clear. Arrest rates are exponentially higher than incarceration rates, for obvious reasons, right? So among those 64,000 people arrested for marijuana possession, only a small fraction of those people end up actually being incarcerated. But that should tell you something very important. If people are being arrested and then released, arrested and then released, then that should tell you that marijuana possession does not really pose a threat to public safety. And you don't have to be the brightest bulb on the tree to understand that if these people aren't a threat to public safety, then there's really no reason to arrest them in the first place. So message number 1 is the arrest of nonviolent drug users must end. Now, the second message has to do with turf wars. And here's the backstory. Whenever most people hear about gang violence and turf wars, they instantly think that the problem is the violence and the answer is more police. Now, but this, I contend, is a misunderstanding of the problem. Violence in this instance is not the problem, it is a symptom of the problem. And gang violence doesn't occur simply because there are too few police officers. Here's the deal. When people are operating in illegal markets and they have disputes, they can't call the police, right? For obvious reasons. Okay? So even though, and so if the dispute is really a serious one, like a battle over turf, then those kinds of conflicts can last for years. And and the worst thing about them is that they can place innocent people, innocent lives at risk. And innocent people die in these kinds of conflicts. And even though they won't tell you this, as a practical matter, there's not a lot that law enforcement can do once these big turf wars erupt. Now, they can make a few arrests. They can do that. In fact, they can arrest a lot of people. But the turf war is not going to end until the people who are engaged in it decide that they're going to end it. So when you hear about gang violence and turf wars, I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to think about prohibition. Because prohibition is the root cause. Prohibition is the context. Prohibition is the enabler of turf wars. Remember Al Capone and the Jenner crime family and the like back in the 30s? You remember all that? Well, these people were created by alcohol prohibition. And just like the prohibition of the 20s and 30s, the drug war creates gang violence. It creates and sustains drug kingpins. And it has a negative impact, obviously, on public safety. And so, you don't have to be the sharpest tool in the toolbox to understand that as long as we continue modern-day prohibition, we should not be surprised or puzzled when gang violence erupts. As a matter of fact, we need to expect that that's going to happen. So message number 2 is, if we want to end turf wars and gang violence, we need to end prohibition. Now, the second message has to do with public health. And here's the backstory on that. Now, I have to say here that there is a measure of complexity here, but it's not about the issue, it's not about the drug policy reform movement. The measure of complexity here is about addiction. Addiction is very, very, very complicated. As a matter of fact, if you were here 2 years ago and you heard Dr. Gabor Mate speak, what he said was that addiction is a physiological, a psychological, it's a behavioral, it's an environmental, it's a social, and I would add, it's a spiritual issue. So given that, what makes us think that this is a problem that is suitable for law enforcement to handle? The criminal justice system is designed to do 3 things. Arrest and prosecute, number 1. Number 2, arrest and prosecute. Number 3, arrest and prosecute. So no matter how many doors our police officers kick in and drag the residents down to the police station, they are not going to solve the problem of drug abuse and addiction. And no matter how many kilos of cocaine are intercepted at the border, that agency is not going to solve the problem of drug abuse and addiction. And no matter how many times the police stop and frisk a young person of color generally and ask him to reveal the contents of his pockets, they are not going to solve the problem of drug abuse and addiction. So even if you occasionally go off your meds, you will understand that we have entrusted the criminal justice system with a problem that they're not equipped to solve. And it's not that they're bad people, it's not that they're incompetent. We need law enforcement, but this is not their area of expertise. Rape, murder, assault, car theft, these are the things that law enforcement can and should handle. And these are the problems that threaten our public safety. But get this, the clearance rates for these crimes is abysmal. Not only in Texas, where we live here, but also across the United States. According to the Texas Department of Public Safety, a person who commits rape has a 55% chance that they will never be arrested. A person who commits robbery has a 75% chance that they will never be arrested. For aggravated assault, a 44% chance. For burglary or auto theft, it's a 92% chance that they will never be arrested. So, but solving these problems is what we need our law enforcement to do. And then we need to leave drug abuse and addiction. We need to put that in the hands of the experts. So message number 3 is, we need a public health approach to drug abuse and addiction, not only for the rich and famous, but for everybody else. Now, these are, as I see it, these are clear messages. They are straightforward. They are actionable. And for me, they embody the essence of this movement. And you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to get it. So finally, there are many reasons why people join the reform movement. Obviously, there are stoners, okay? Obviously, there are libertarians, okay? Now, while I certainly believe in personal liberty, I'm not about to use my liberty to get high. That's not what I'm about. That's not what this organization is about. The thing that brought me to this movement was the loss of my precious son and his friend. And they were innocent victims of drug prohibition violence. Now, that said, we will work with anyone. We will work with people who love drugs. We'll work with people who hate drugs. We'll work with libertarians. We'll work with Republicans, Democrats, all of the above. As a matter of fact, we'd love to work with the more black churches. We'd love to work a little bit more with the black community. Because you know what? People of color, now let me say this, everybody has been impacted by the war on drugs. But communities of color have been devastated by this policy. And why aren't we leading? We should be leading the movement. We shouldn't be standing on the sidelines. So we will work with anyone who's willing to stand up with us and say, no more drug war. Okay, now I'm ready to introduce our keynote speaker, who may be arguably the smartest man in the world. I mean, he's the smartest one I've ever met. He's amazing. Dr. Carl Hart is a neuroscientist. He's an author. He's a tenured professor at Columbia University. And I'm not going to read his bio because that's in your program. But he's been, if you've been watching television the last couple of months, you know, you couldn't miss him because he's been on shows like the Melissa Harris Perry Show. He's been on Bill Moyers and Company. He's been on the Bill O'Reilly Show. And I, you know, and this goes back to the Drug Policy Alliance. I doubt that our paths would have crossed were it not for the fact that I'm a partner of the Drug Policy Alliance, because every year this incredible organization brings together at their own expense people like me from all over the country, and I get to meet some of the most amazing people in the world doing this amazing work. And this past spring, when we were in Brooklyn, New York, Dr. Hart was one of our speakers, and I was amazed. And they, at their expense, gave everybody one of his books. I think it was a pre-release copy, right? And I read the book, and the man has an incredible story, an incredible journey, and he's going to share that with you this morning. He's going to talk about how he got from point A to point B. And tomorrow, when you come back, he's going to talk about his research on crack cocaine and methamphetamines, groundbreaking research that will blow your mind. Bad pun. That will blow your mind about, you know, some of these myths that we have lived with all of our lives, and he's going to dispel them. So I'm delighted and I'm pleased to present the Humanitarian Award this year to Dr. Carl Hart, because he embodies, you know, that saying that, you know, we need to be the change we want to be in the world. That's this man. He's willing to use his incredible gifts to help humankind. And so, Dr. Hart.
everybody? Boy, Texas is something else. You all are some bizarre people. No, I mean, what you all have in the room, man, I